Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. This is an advanced class on Hurdlr, which is the most amazing way to keep more of the dollars that you earn through your unfranchised business and to, of course, maximize the amount of dollars that you can keep from basically the expenses that you're working through as you're building your unfranchised business. You know, 2020 for me is all about building wealth, and as I go out to teach the basic five and help people become successful in their unfranchised business, I want to remind everyone that wealth is a culmination of multiple things that have to be done at the same time, which includes understanding debt and working towards becoming debt-free, keeping more of the money that you're earning, and that certainly can be helped tremendously with the use of Hurdlr. We want to be able to learn more about earning residual income and be able to create that ongoing income that we're all looking for. And we want to be proactive in our health because, you know, a lot of people, you know, don't have a lot of dollars saved, and we're one accident away from bankruptcy. So we want to make sure we take a proactive position on wellness and staying healthy, and of course keeping a positive attitude. The positivity that we approach every day is so important in what we do in life. We are very fortunate to have an expert on the Hurdlr. Ashley Rockwell has been with the company a long time. She is the director of customer success, which I find absolutely a wonderful title, quite frankly, because it's not just about the service here, it's about you benefiting from using the Hurdlr. The Hurdlr is a benefit that you get from being on the subscription for the unfranchised management system that we know as the UFMS for just $21.95. There are so many great benefits. And then now adding Hurdlr, which is the company that took over the deductor and improved it absolutely tremendously. I love it because we leverage time this way, and I urge all of you to continue to move your education on maximizing this tool, and that's where Ashley's going to take us tonight. So welcome, Ashley. It's so good to have you. Thank you for spending time with us. We just came off of a great seminar on the introduction for the people that are just starting to use Hurdlr, and now we have the more advanced class going on now. All yours, Ashley.
Perfect. Thank you so much for the introduction. So excited to be with you all tonight. I know a lot of you guys attended the sessions this fall to get started with Hurdlr, have been using it across the year. So now really excited to help you guys get started through filing your taxes and actually using all the data you tracked. So one thing I want to highlight quickly is the new Facebook group that's been created for Hurdlr. So with this Facebook group, Market America is going to be sharing weekly tips. You can, you know, share what you're working on with other UFOs and ask different questions that you might have as well, or see how other people are approaching things that you're working on. So great tool. I will post a link to that in the chat feature as well, so you guys can all join that. Definitely recommend getting started on there. Really cool tool that they're sharing with all of you. So first thing I wanted to jump in today was how to use Hurdlr for your taxes now that it's the new year. So, you know, you spent your time going through and tracking everything across 2019, and now you want to, you know, save all that time that you would be spending on gathering all the data to file your taxes and do it more easily. So I'm going to switch over to my mobile app now. All right. Can you see my screen?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
All right, perfect. So the first thing I'll mention here is that we actually have a tax filing partnership with TaxSlayer, which is a filing system. So on the top of your screen, you'll actually see this File Taxes button. You can also access it by tapping on the Taxes tab, which is that one with the top hat, or on the Canadian version, it's the maple leaf. So if you click on that, you'll also see that orange File Taxes button there. So if you tap on that, it will ask you if you want to transfer your information from Hurdlr into TaxSlayer. So you just hit the Accept button, And then we'll just walk you through setting up your data in TaxSlayer. So we'll ask you to create an account, and then we'll just ask you to confirm once more that you want that data imported in. So when you do that, it's great because it pulls all the data in for you automatically and already has it all filled out in that Schedule C section. So then all you need to do is enter any other tax data you might have. Really saves you a ton of time on filing your taxes because, Hurdlr makes it easier for you by creating, Schedule C and other tax reports for you, which I'll get to in a minute. But with this integration, you really don't have to enter any of the data because it's already transferred over for you automatically. So it's definitely a great tool. Definitely recommend checking that out if you're someone who files your taxes yourself and is looking for an easy way to do that. Now, if you use another tax filing system, or you have an accountant or tax preparer who does your taxes for you, Hurdlr can still definitely help you with all of that as well, because it did track all of your 2019 data and has it on a really easily digestible report for you. So in the mobile app, if you tap those three dots in the top left corner, the top option here is your reports. So if you click on reports, it's going to have the most popular reports at the top, which are, some of the business, expense, income, and mileage reports. But what we're going to look at is these tax reports. So if you scroll down to the taxes section and expand the tax reports, you'll see our two tax reports that we have. The first one is a Schedule C. So with this, you can export your actual Schedule C. So it's going to be all pre-populated and filled out for you with all of your Hurdlr information. It's really cool because with that, all you need to do is fill in your personal information at the top, and you could really just use that Schedule C to file your taxes yourself, or give it to your tax preparer to do the taxes for you. The other report here is the tax details for tax filing, which is a spreadsheet that has all of your data. So with this, it's going to have all of your income, your expenses, and your mileage that you've tagged as business. And it's going to have a summary already pre-formatted for the Schedule C as well. So it's really easy to see all of your expenses, your deductions for your mileage, and you can also just use that information to kind of plug and play into any tax filing system that you may use. So it's great, and you can use it anytime. So it's already going to be pre-populated for the current year, but if you just tap on the start date and end date, you can choose what the start date and end date is. So I can go ahead and do 2019. And if I hit send, it will export the report directly to my email. And I also have the option to download it directly to my device. So it's a little harder to see some of these reports on your phone just because they have so much data in them. So we do typically recommend opening it on your computer. It just gives you the space to actually see everything. I know whenever I try to look at spreadsheets on my phone, it's way too small. You're kind of scrolling over and can't really get the full picture. So you can do that if you'd like to, but we'd recommend using it on your computer or even a tablet. That way you can kind of see everything. So as I'm going through all of this, please feel free to chat in any of your questions. And I'll go through and answer those questions as we're going through everything as well. So there's this little questions tab in GoToWebinar, so feel free to enter those questions there. I see I have a couple questions already. Is TaxSlayer a partner store for IBF? I don't believe they are. Hurdlr's just partnered with them for the past few years. So there isn't a partnership with Market America with them right now. I'm not sure if there's any plans for them to partner with them in the future, but this is the partner that Hurdlr's been working with for the past 2 years. If there are other partner stores that do taxes, you can definitely use them as well. Like I mentioned, it's super easy to go through and export your tax reports to use with any filing system that you want. It's just the partnership with TaxSlayer imports that data automatically for you, but you can definitely use the data at any filing system that you like. So I have a question. I cannot link my shop.com business credit card. I don't see the bank listed in Hurdlr. And they use that credit card to buy products. So I think it's Dan Wang. Dan, if you could reach out to me via the in-app chat in the app, I can definitely look into that. That's just this chat bubble in the top left corner of the app. Just shoot me a message after the session today, and I can look into that for you and see what we can get done there. And as for anyone else as well, the chat feature is great. Really helps resolve issues for you guys. Make sure you guys can get the most out of it. Are there charges for using TaxSlayer? So there are charges for using TaxSlayer. It's through their own program, so it depends on exactly what you're filing. But I think it's kind of similar to other tax filing systems. So I'm not sure of exactly what those charges are for this year. It just went live earlier this week. But I can definitely look into that and share that with Sarah Rose to share with you guys. So someone said TaxSlayer is a partner of shop.com, 27.5 IBS.
It is. I was just looking that up. Okay.
Oh, awesome. That's great then.
Well, let's see.
So someone said they found it by querying First Bank. So I think that's the shop.com credit card. For a lot of people, it is under the First Bank integration. So if you haven't tried that already, definitely try searching for that. I can show you guys how to link that too if you're not sure yet. Just hit the 3 dots in the top left-hand corner. Go to Banks and Integrations, add expense account, and then search for First Bank. So I believe it's that one. And there's a couple different ones I know, but a lot of UFOs have linked that First Bank integration. So definitely recommend trying that. But if you do run into any issues or errors, just reach out to us and we're happy to help. Okay. Having trouble with a password reset. So Clifford, can you just shoot us a message? You can email us at hello@hurdlr.com. So it's hello and then HURDLR.com. If you shoot me a message there, I can look into this after the session. That goes for any sort of question. Definitely happy to help through email or in-app chat anytime. Another question, can we split one transaction to 2 different expenses? So there is a split feature in the app. It lets you split it between personal and business or into multiple business categories. So I'm going to take my expense here. If I tap on it, there's this split expense. So I can toggle that on, and then it automatically puts it into not expense and then whatever category it thinks it falls into. But I can actually add other expense categories as well. So let's say that part of that was a business meal and then part of it was supplies I was buying. I can split it between those 2 different expense categories and save it. If it adds up correctly, open and add it up correctly, and save it. And then it will save those 2 expenses for me as a split expense. If First Bank card sets the bank for shop.com credit card. Yes, I think First Bank card is the one that the shop.com card is for. But like I said, if you have any issues linking it, please just reach out and we're happy to help. So keep sending those questions in, but I'm going to keep going through some of the additional things I wanted to go over today. So now that it's 2020, you all might have noticed that the app has kind of reset itself. So now it's tracking all of your data for 2020. But on the home screen, if you click this green this year bar, you can still look back at last year by selecting last year from the drop-down to see your last year overview. You can also do the same thing on each of the tabs. So if I go to the reviewed section of the mileage tab, I can hit the 2020 bar and then select 2019, and it will show me all of my 2019 drives. Same thing for my expenses, just select 2019, and then for income as well. So I know some people, when they first log into the app for the first time in 2020, and they don't see all their 2019 data, they're like, oh my gosh, it's all gone, but it's definitely all still there. You just need to select 2019 from the drop down, and you'll see all of that data. And like I mentioned, you can still export all of those reports for 2019 as well. So a couple of things I wanted to hit on that are some of the newer features. The improved reporting. So like I mentioned, our reports, we do have some new ones here, and you can go through and expand each of them. You know, there's very detailed ones: personal mileage, business mileage, expense reports. We now actually have a personal expenses by personal category, which is great. We had so many users who were super excited to track their personal expenses in addition to their business expenses. So this was a recent addition that we added. Really excited about some of those. We also have time and tasks reports. So I know some of you, we went over this in some of the advanced sessions earlier this fall, but tracking all your time through the app is a great tool too, to see where you're spending your time on everything. So there's some cool detailed reports of that stuff. And I mean, really just check these out. They're great for helping file your taxes. They're great for helping improve some of your business metrics. So really recommend playing around with them. There's both PDF and spreadsheet formats for them. So it really lets you kind of view your data however you want to, and really maximize your savings and your tax filing, the time you're actually spending on tax filing, which is great. So the other thing was a partnership with TaxSlayer, which I had mentioned. We'll also be sending out an email with your tax report, with a quick link to your tax report, I believe early next week. So look out for that as well, but that will just be a quick link to download that tax report I mentioned. So again, that's the report that will have all of that detailed data for tax filing. Another cool feature we have that recently came out is Deduction Finder. So currently that's just available on our web app. So I'm gonna pull that up quickly to show you guys. But that's a really cool new feature. It helps you quickly find your deductions. So what it does is it actually scans all of your expenses, and it tells you which expenses may or may not be deductible. So I'm gonna go ahead and switch my screen over real quick. Okay, can you see my screen now?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Okay, cool. So if I go to the expenses screen, which is listed on the left side of the screen, there's this Find Deductions button, and if I click that, it's going to scan all of my expenses for deductions. So it's pretty cool because it kind of uses AI technology and our aggregated data that we have from our total user base to figure out which expenses may or may not be deductible. So then it breaks them down into very likely, not likely, and needs review. And then all you do is click Tag Expenses. And first it'll show you your very likely ones. So you can kind of scan them. Okay, these all look like they're business deductions. So then what I can do is just select all and tag them as business. So it's really easy, helps me really quickly kind of find some of those deductions and maybe even capture ones I wasn't even thinking about. So like, you know, my mobile device, maybe I wasn't thinking about that as a deduction, but it's definitely something that I'm using for business and it's deductible for my business. And then the other ones are these not likely ones. That kind of helps you go through and tag a lot of those ones that aren't business deductions. So I don't really care about them as much. I just want to clear them out. So I can go through and tag them as personal. Like I mentioned, you can definitely track your personal expenses as well. We have a ton of users who are really using Hurdlr to help track all their personal spending as well. So you can take your time and go through and select the categories and everything. But it really helps you kind of catch up on all your business deductions and make sure you're capturing those. So it's kind of a cool newer feature we have. So I definitely want to share that with all of you guys. I think it's cool on the web app too. There's a little more room on the screen. So I can actually show you guys a little bit more of what these reports look like so you can see them in person. So that Schedule C report I was mentioning for the taxes. So here I just go and select 2019 for the year. And you can actually split it by each of your businesses too. So if you have multiple businesses like I do in my account, you can actually pick which business you want to look at the Schedule C for. So for my purposes, I'm just going to look at it for all of my businesses. I can download it. And then when it opens, it's really cool. So all you have to do at the top is fill in your personal information. And if you look down here, all of your income data and all of your expenses and deductions are already filled in with all of the data from the app. So it's super cool. It's a great time saver. And this is the actual Schedule C form. So you can really just print this out and attach it with your taxes for filing, or give it to your accountant if you have an accountant that does your tax filing for you, because it's already all done and filled out for you. So it's pretty cool. I'm going to pause there and just take a look at some of the other questions, because I see some more coming in. So I have a question, maybe still update information for 2019. So yes, you can definitely still add 2019 data. You have a whole year to keep entering 2019 data. Within Hurdlr, you can only look at the current year and the past year within the app. But all of your historic data before then is still saved and able to be exported. So until 2021, you'll still be able to edit and add new data for 2019. So like in this account here on the web app, you'll see I still have 2019 transactions. So just like I was mentioning in the mobile app, there's a date filter. So in the web app, I'll just click 2019, and there will be all my 2019 data. So here's the ones I haven't tagged yet, so I can still go through and tag them. I can still, manually add an expense for 2019. It does default to today's date, but I can just go back and pick whichever date I need to in 2019 and add that data in. Same for mileage and income as well. You can still add all of that data for 2019. Okay, next question. How do you split COGS, income, and expenses when you sell a product to a customer? So I think I'm understanding this question correctly, but I think you're looking to see how you split the cost of your goods sold between the income and the expense. So under the assumption that that's the question, what you'll do is you'll track that total income. So you'll track the entire income of the sale, and then you'll track the expense as a COG, the COGS. So here we have the cost of goods sold category, which is already a default category. So let's say that, my sale, the item itself costs me $5. It's the cost of the goods sold. So I'd click that. Amazon. Okay, so it was $5 was the cost of my good that I sold. I would enter the expense, or if the expense pulled in from my bank account, I would just classify that expense as COGS, as the category, and save it. And then for the income, let's say I sell it for $10, then I add that entire income total as business income and save it. And you can't really see it here since I do have other data tags, but what it will do in your taxes section is that it will subtract the cost of goods sold as a deductible expense. So if I just had those two transactions there, it would have $10 as the income and then $5 as the deductible expense. So then it would only be the $5, which was the taxable income. So it does account for your cost of goods sold when you're tracking that in Hurdlr. Client versus team member, do we need to differentiate? So
that's a good question, Ashley. Wonder if the question is referring if they're selling directly to a partner, and that's depending on what they sell for. If they just pass through, in my business, if it's one of my own teammates, I'm going to sell it for what I'm buying it. And they can basically pay me for that, and that would go in to basic income, because I'll give you an example. All of the products that I buy for the business come from Market America, so those are pretty much a lot of cost of goods. And so if I'm getting a personal check back for a couple of the products, I deposit it in my account, which shows up on my Hurdlr as a check for X from such and such, which I'm now able to show that it's an income. So it all depends. This is really depending upon how each business owner wants to track that. In some cases, they'll replace product, but again, that's a personal business choice that you're going to have to figure out based on how you want to do your accounting for that. That would be my response. It's virtually impossible for Hurdlr to know when we're selling directly to one of our own business clients at cost per se.
Yeah, definitely. I would echo that. I think the one thing there too is that if you're just, selling it at cost and then being reimbursed for it, those two transactions will cancel each other out. So it won't actually, give you a higher income level because you are tracking that equal deduction. So it's going to bring your taxable net income back down to the right amount. So it's totally fine to track those transactions that way because it will still kind of cancel out for you.
Okay.
Next question, what's your email address? So I'm going to enter that into the chat right now too. So you can either email us at hello@hurdlr.com, which I just entered, or if you tap the chat bubble in the app, that's the other way to contact us. I don't see Deductor Finder on my page. So right now it's only on the web app on your computer. So that's in the expenses section. So you tap expenses on the left-hand side of the screen. And then it should say find deductions. If you've never used it before, it might actually be like a full banner across it that says scan expenses or something along those lines. But you should see something, one of those options there. If you're not seeing that still, please reach out to me. I'm happy to help you find that and figure out what's going on there. That also will be available on the mobile app soon. I'm pretty sure it's going to be in the next release of the mobile app, which is coming out in the next week or so. So once that's available in the mobile app, you can also run that there. And this is something you can run at any time. So a lot of people do kind of when they're starting out or when they're starting the new year. But if you're 6 months in and you decide you're going to scan and see if there's anything you might be missing or anything you're unsure of, it can kind of help you filter some of those things out as well. On the Schedule C, is there a place to add depreciation of equipment? So there is, I think in Hurdlr, there is a depreciation category. So anything that you've entered there would show up there. But if it's something you haven't tracked in Hurdlr, you can still enter that information yourself or let your accountant know or your tax preparer know, and that way they can account for it. But on your Schedule C and on your tax reports for Hurdlr, it's only going to be the information that you've actually tracked within the app. So, actually make sure that you're tracking that within the app itself, or make sure you're tracking that in a different way that you're working, with your tax preparer or tax filing system you're using, so that you're still able to account for that. What happens when you have a spouse paying for things like a cell phone on their card, but many phones on the account? So we create recurring expenses and attach screen capture of spouse's segment of the statement. So you can definitely do that. Like I mentioned earlier, the split function can be a great way to account for that. But I can show that again real quick. The split feature on the web app, it just shows up as the middle option. So if I want to split something, I can do that. And let's say that the $200 I'm paying is for 4 different phones, but only $50, which is one of the phones, is a business expense. So I would just put that $50 as the business expense mobile device, and then the other $150 I would say is not business, and then I would save it. I can also add a picture of the receipt if I want to as well, like you mentioned, and I just would save that, and it would save the split for me. The other thing you can do, like you mentioned, is create a recurring expense if you want to enter it manually. So what I could do is add that, tap that add expense button. I could add my vendor in. And let's say that my portion of the phone bill is that $50 I said earlier. So I could just add $50 in, select my category, my business, and if I wanted to attach the receipt, I could do that. And then down here it says frequency. You can actually set a frequency. So let's say this is a monthly bill. It's always the same amount. I can set it as a manually entered monthly recurring expense. And when I do that, it's actually going to create the expense for me each month on its own. So now when I save that, every month on the 6th, it will create that expense for me. So I don't have to worry about doing it myself anymore, which is great. Can you split a recurring expense? So there isn't currently a way to split a recurring expense. So if you do have, a kind of split expense like this that you're not tracking through your linked credit card or bank account, I would recommend entering different portions. So, let's say you're tracking that personal portion and the business portion. I would add the 2 different expenses and make each of them recurring on its own. Splitting recurring expenses is definitely something that is on our team's radar. I'm not sure what the timeline is on adding something like that or when we might add it, but we can definitely let you know. That's definitely something we would announce on a product update if that's ever added. How would it work if the COG was in 2019 but the sale was in 2020? So it depends on how you're running your business, but a lot of people will do it on a cash basis, which is the expenses are recorded when the expenses happen and the income is recorded when the income happens. So in that case, if you're tracking it that way, you would track the expense, the COG in 2019, and then that actual sale would be recorded in 2020 when you made it. So that's how a lot of people will track it. But if you track it differently, based on discussions with a tax professional or tax preparer, you can definitely do that as well. Just kind of changing those dates when you're tracking those things. But I'd say the majority of people will track it when the expense or income is incurred. So the app will definitely let you do that as well. If I make less than $500, how do I file? There are a ton of options for filing taxes. So typically you're going to file all of your taxes together. So you'll do your personal tax report return and also attach the Schedule C for any of your self-employed jobs. Your tax obligation may differ depending on your income level, but typically you are supposed to report all of your income to the IRS. So I would just recommend consulting a tax professional to make sure that you're doing everything correctly there if you're not sure.
I think that's a really good question, especially if somebody is working a traditional job, as you said, Ashley, and they're starting their unfranchised business, and it is not uncommon that somebody might earn $500, $1,500, $2,000 their first year from starting their unfranchised. However, you may have $5,000 in expenses. So, the way that works and as a partnership, and I can only give you what we do here as I have a job with Market America, and I have my own business at Dennis Frank's Marketing Services, which is my unfranchised business. It is a combined tax return, so that the expenses of actually building my business actually, is included in the actual tax return. So it all works out. So if you are making less money in the beginning, that's okay. But at the same time, the expenses that you incur in starting the business over the first 3 or 4 or 5 years, that all becomes part of a way for you to actually be keeping more of the money that you're earning from your other job. So
yeah, definitely. That's a really good point.
Be aware of that.
Is there thinking about bridging the new inventory management tool into Hurdlr to enter automated COGS? So I'm not aware of any immediate plans for inventory tracking in Hurdlr, but can definitely keep you posted on that if that type of features are added in the future. what category do you use for a credit card payment? So I'm guessing this is when you're paying down the credit card that you're using to track all of your expenses. So with that, you're actually going to either tag it as personal or delete it because it's not really a business transaction. It's not a deductible expense because you're already tracking all of those individual credit card payments. So you're already accounting for those. So if you were to also track that payment, it would actually be double tracking. So we'd recommend deleting it. To delete a transaction, you just need to click on it, and then there's a delete button at the bottom. So it's next to the save button on the web app, and it's the bottom of the transaction on the mobile app. Can business categories be manipulated or new ones added in? I'm having trouble making some categories unique. So you can't edit any of the default categories, so you can definitely add your own ones. So just click the gear icon in the top right corner, or in the mobile app, it's the 3 dots in the top left-hand corner, and go to business categories. And then you'll see this add button in the top right-hand corner. So you can click on that and then add your own category name. So let's say that I wanted to track, you know, I could even, you know, track very specific COGS. I could do cost of goods sold for product A. And then I could pick which, these are default categories. So parent category is the header, and then the expense account is the tax category that it maps to. So they're all here. There we go. So you enter all of those things in and then hit save, and then you have your custom category listed under the header that you put it under. So there it is there. So you can add as many different custom categories as you want, but like I mentioned, you're not able to edit those default ones. And you can do the same thing for personal categories as well. So if I go back to the gear icon in the right-hand corner and do personal categories, I can also add personal categories to track. So it's great if you want to, you know, track your personal spending and really see those detailed spending categories. Okay. When I link credit cards in my bank account from which I pay the credit card, I essentially have those expenses in Hurdlr twice. We can use the credit card transaction to categorize each transaction. What do you suggest we categorize with the bank account for that credit card? So I think it's kind of similar to that other question about what to do with the credit card payments. So if you're only using that bank account to pay off that credit card, if that's the only expense transaction, I would actually recommend not linking the bank account for expenses, since that way you don't have to worry about that payment coming in. But if you do have other expenses from that, that's totally fine too. You'll just want to delete that payment transaction. Alternatively, you can mark it as personal. That will also keep it out of being double counted in your deductions. So I think the safest bet with those, again, is just to delete them. That way you're not accidentally categorizing it or deducting it twice. Would setting up recurring payments for my cell phone service duplicate the expense if I pay the cell phone service by credit card and have the credit card transactions imported into Hurdlr? So yes, if you are manually entering an expense and it's also importing from your bank, that would duplicate the transaction. So I recommend doing one or the other for those cases. We would really only recommend entering a recurring payment if that's for an account that isn't linked in Hurdlr. That way you're not worried about duplicating anything. Okay, I think that's the questions I have so far. Definitely feel free to keep sending any new questions you have in. We have some more time, so I think it'd be cool just to go over a couple more of the advanced features. I know some of you might have heard some of this before when we had some of the sessions this fall, but I think one really cool thing to highlight is the multi-business tracking. So if you have multiple businesses, it's really cool because you can track all of them in the same place. And like I was saying with the reports earlier, you can actually export reports for your different businesses. So if you tap that gear icon in the top right corner, or the three dots in the top left corner in the mobile app and go to businesses. You can add all of your different businesses here. The other cool thing is actually tracking everything at the client level as well. So if you have clients that you sell multiple different products to, there are clients that you work with pretty often, you can actually track them. So if I do the gear icon on the top right corner and go to clients, I can add my different clients in as well by tapping the add button. And that way, when I'm tagging an expense or an income transaction, I can actually associate it with them. So I go to some of my transactions here, and let's say I tag it as business to my consulting business. I can choose one of my clients to tag it to. And that way, when I'm looking at my reports later, I can look at my reports for each client and see where my expenses and income are coming for those clients, which is kind of cool. So it's really kind of neat to see that breakdown there. Let's see, another question. So for the credit card, we have to pay $60 per year or $7.99. That's the price for Hurdlr Premium for people who aren't who don't have UFMS. But as a UFO with UFMS, you actually get Hurdlr for free. The only thing you need to do is make sure you go through your back office. If you don't go through your back office and just create a Hurdlr account from scratch, it won't recognize that you're with Market in America, and it will think that you're just a normal person signing up for Hurdlr, so it will prompt you to pay for it. So if you're getting that prompt and you shouldn't be, just make sure you're going through your back office to set up your account, and you should be all set. That is one of the great benefits, though, because through UFMS, you're getting it for free when most people are paying $60 a year or $8 a month. So, I mean, there you're already saving that money on a great tool that is saving you all this time and money. Okay, created an expense rule by mistake, and Hurdlr changed the transaction description. How to correct this? So we recovered this last fall, but the rules are really cool because it helps categorize things for you automatically. But definitely sometimes happens where you click something and you accidentally create a rule the wrong way, or you didn't need to create a rule. So you can definitely go back and edit all of those things as well. So if I tap the gear icon in the top right-hand corner and I go to expense rules, this will be a list of all of my different rules. So I don't have any rules listed here, but if I did, I would just click on the rule, and then I can either delete it or I can change it to business or personal or vice versa. So you can really kind of, make your edits and things there. And when you do that, it will also, stop it from happening moving forward. So if I delete a rule, it will no longer continue to tag things that way. But if I do need to edit a transaction, so let's say that, it tagged something incorrectly, I go in, I delete the rule, then I'm going to go back, I'm going to go to the expenses section, and I'm going to find that expense, and I can click on it and then make my edits to it. So let's say that it got tagged as business, but it should really be personal. I can go ahead and change it to personal, or I could, change the business associated with, or change the description or the vendor or amount. So I can make all of those changes within the expense itself. What if one of my partners misses a UFMS? Will they still have access in place of it? Sorry. Will they still have access to Hurdlr? I'm not sure what you mean by misses a UFMS. Is that the payment, maybe? So if you have UFMS and then stop having UFMS, you would still have access to your Hurdlr account. Once you stop being part of UFMS, you would automatically be on the free version of Hurdlr, which means you would lose the premium features. So some of the premium features are, that ability to link your bank and credit cards, the fully automatic mileage tracking. So you would lose access to those features, but you would be able to still access your account and all of the data you already categorized, all your reports and everything as well. And then if you were to, upgrade and be part of UFMS again, you'd definitely be able to unlock those features again. So definitely no worries of losing your data. You still have access to it as well as all the reports and everything. Currently using QuickBooks to track income and expenses. Is this used in place of it? So yes, Hurdlr is an alternative to QuickBooks. It helps you do everything that QuickBooks does as well. So it tracks all of your income and expenses and mileage and estimates those taxes for you as well. So I mean, it's a great alternative, and since you're getting it as a free benefit, definitely recommend taking full advantage of it, and that way you're also going to save money on the money that you're spending on QuickBooks as well. Will this webinar be available on YouTube? Yes. The webinar will be posted on YouTube after the session. If I use Hurdlr for another business that I need to pay an individual as a contractor, which expense category should I classify for the expense? So there is a contractor expense category. So I click on one of my expenses here and do select category. If I search for it, there is a contractors category. So if you're paying a contractor, you can just hit the contractor category for that expense and save it. And that will classify it in that contractor category for you. Does Hurdlr have a payroll function? So Hurdlr does not currently have a payroll function. If you have employees that you're paying, you can definitely link the bank account that the payroll gets taken out of, and that way you could still automatically track all of that data. But there isn't currently a payroll or bank integration like that. How do we find the app in the back office? So I actually have a screenshot of that I can pull up. Can you see that PowerPoint on my screen, Dennis?
Yes, you sure can.
Okay, perfect. Awesome. So if you go to unfranchise.com and click the tax savings section in the Business Center, that's where you'll see this right here. And if you already have Hurdlr, it's going to show you kind of the overview of your data and say tax assistant. So if you click that, it's going to take you right in. But if you don't already have Hurdlr, it's going to say something like get started. And if you click on that, it will take you into Hurdlr to get you set up for the first time. All right. What about an invoicing feature like QuickBooks? So Hurdlr is in process of adding some of those more advanced features like invoicing. So that you can definitely reach out to me and I can give you some more information about that.
Okay.
Can we use it to track draws for partnerships? So your draws for partnerships aren't tax deductible, so they wouldn't be tracked as a business expense typically. They would be tracked as personal because it's more of a transfer, but you can definitely track all of that and add notes and everything like that. And that way you're able to still see those transactions and have them exported in your reports for your records. Where can I add a contractor or a vendor name? Okay, so to add vendors, you'll want to go to that main menu. So it's the gear icon in the top right corner of the web app or the 3 dots in the top left corner of the mobile app. And then you just go down to vendors and click add new. You just add the vendor name. So contractor A. And then you can also choose the default category. That way the app will be smart and already know which category it should be tagged to. So I can choose contractor and save it. And then that way if I go back to my expenses page and I'm adding a new expense, I can search for that category I just set. And it's also going to update the category from automatically. So then I can just enter the expense amount and save that. Is there a scanner function? So I think maybe are you talking about a receipt scanning function? We don't have receipt scanning, but it actually will take pictures of your receipts to save them. So if you have your bank account and credit card linked, it's actually going to pull all of that transaction data in automatically. But then what you can do is go into the individual expenses themselves and add a picture of the receipt to it as well. And it's cool because then when you export your reports, there's actually a column in the spreadsheet called receipt, and it has each link to every receipt that you've uploaded. It's stored on the cloud for you. So all you do is have to go to that URL, and you can access your receipt. You can save it, download it, save it up there for as long as you need it. So as long as you have a Hurdlr account, it's up there and available. So if you were ever to get audited or needed a certain receipt, you can always go in and find it. Does Hurdlr have accountant versions like QuickBooks? So with Hurdlr, what you would do is you would either give your accountant your login, or you would just share your tax report. So like I was saying earlier, there's that full tax report, which I can show you as well. I go to reports on the left-hand side and go down to my tax report and go to the tax details for tax filing one. I can download it. I just enter the date range, so I'll do my 2019 one by setting the start date as January 1st and the end date as December 31st, and download it. And then when I open it, it's going to have all of the data that my account would need to do my taxes.
Nice.
So the first page is the summary. So it has everything broken down per each business, has everything broken down by my tax categories, and then there's itemized lists as well. So there's itemized list of all my business income, my business expenses, and we keep going over my business
That's
mileage.
going to save so much time, Ashley. That's just so powerful. We just
great.
have to discipline ourselves up front, and it's going to be a huge asset for us.
Definitely, definitely. So I see we're coming to the end of our session. So I think I'll hand it back over to you. I know we wanted to go over a couple quick to-dos. I did put that Facebook link in the chat feature for everyone, as well as our contact email address. And any questions that I didn't get to today, please definitely reach out via email or via in-app chat, and definitely happy to help with any bank issues or any other questions or anything. So we're always available for if you want to reach out. So Dennis, I'm going to turn it back over to you to close things out too.
You bet, Ashley. Thank you so much for spending time with us between the first webinar and the second webinar. My goodness, I've got a better understanding of all the different things that can be done, helping us to create wealth. And, so many of us, we have our goals, and there's so many things to think about. But the bottom line is we've all decided to build an unfranchised business as one of our streams of income, and for many of us, our main stream of income. And keeping track of what we earn and what we spend helps us to get to where we want to go. I mean, it helps us create the budgets. It helps us identify what things we need to pay off that are high interest. It helps us to be able to create ways to grow to where we want to be financially successful. But like anything, it takes discipline. And now we have an advanced tool. It's intuitive. I love it. It's going to learn how you're spending. It's going to help you automatically keep track of it. But we're going to have to get through that first and second quarter so you really get a hang of this. But come tax time in 2021 for 2020, you are just going to be so far ahead. And really reduce the amount of stress. So I'm very grateful and thankful, Ashley, for you and the Hurdlr and how much time that you're willing to spend with us. So don't hesitate, team, to contact Hurdlr through their chat. It's an excellent resource for us. And let's get good at what we do. And remember, one more thing to help us be better recruiters as far as getting partnerships and helping people understand how they can save time and save more of the dollars that they're earning in the process of creating multiple streams of income. So thank you, Ashley. Thank you, everyone. Let's make 2020 a huge year, and tell your team about Hurdlr. Thank you and good night.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Good night, everyone.
All right.